Hi everyone. Make Me Love You Part 6. Leon. He's coming to the end of his break. He's been running across the road to this little shop with this translator and this girl. Freelancers are just not working out. He's only got one more night left and he's back with us. And I said to him, Leon, you still haven't got a number. How are you going to communicate? What are you going to do? He says, your mama-san came over to get something from the shop last night. Tonight she's going to interpret for me, if that's okay. He said, I'll pay you for her time. He said, bill me 1,000 baht or whatever for just borrowing your mama-san for, say, 30 minutes. I said, okay, no problem. It was quiet. I said, what about a freelancer tonight? He said, oh no, I'm going to spend my night with this girl. Over the road, sat on the step. But I'll keep coming in to buy drinks and make notes. Okay. Anyway, our mama-san, frozen, went over. Half an hour, chatted, translated. And the girl started getting busy, so he came back over and said, I'll come back later. What happened? So I said to Frozen, what's going on? She said, she's an only child. Mum and Dad are old, she's got no kids, she's never had a boyfriend, never had a Thai boyfriend, interested in Farang because they're different, and wants to learn English. And he's told her he's away for a few weeks and he's going to come back. And if she'll allow him, if she can find in the next few weeks some teacher, English teacher, he'll pay for her to learn English. He's offered her payment for whatever it costs to learn English, and she's over the moon. And that was it. He came back in. He's like, oh, they're so busy. He said, oh, she's just amazing. He said, I am. I said, you're going to pay? He said, yes, if I can get her to speak some English. This will allow me to get to the next stage where I can work out what number she is. I said, you're going to invest all that money, and it could be thousands of baht, just to see where she scores on the... He said, yes, because she's so different. He said, this might be my new pattern where I'm going to have to take this new approach. He said, go into shops and supermarkets and find girls, use the translator, and figure out how to get them on dates and meals and so forth. He said, this is like really exciting for me. He said, this is a new level. This could be level 2 of my search. I'm like, wow. Yeah, you know, money wasn't really an object. He wasn't super rich, but he had lots. And he's like, I don't mind investing money this way. It's more fun. It's bringing me alive. I'm like, oh Christ, yeah, whatever. Excuse my slang. I said, okay, right. New model. So freelancers are out the window. He said, oh well, I'm off to work. He said, so tomorrow. He said, so I'll wait until I come back. I said, are you going to come back here to our bar? He said, I have to because of Pretty Girl. I said, right, okay. He said, but first I've got to find a condo. So I'm off for a week's work or whatever it is, and then I'll be back down. He said, it won't take long to organise a condo to get the purchase. I said, okay, right. Jomtien? He said, yes, Jomtien. And not too far from the beach. Okay. And then what? He said, well, I'm going to try with this girl and see how many days it takes and how much money to get her to the level where I can interrogate her properly. Okay. So you're doing like a cost analysis. Yes. And are you going to at the same time do multiple girls from shops and restaurants and they all end up on the same English course talking to each other? He said, good point. And that was it. Next, he said his goodbyes to that girl. He didn't take a girl that night, no freelancer. Off he went, and he'd gone back to work, back to Bangkok. Jumping forward, it was about, I don't know, 2 weeks later, he suddenly waltzed into the bar, usual time, 7:30, and we'd had a few new girls, which he was quite interested in straight away, and one of them was very pretty. And he'd like, how are you? And then he immediately proceeded to tell me that he'd found 2 condos. He's negotiating whichever one was the come through at the right deal he was going to buy. He said he was only days away from signing and sealing a purchase, but he wouldn't on this holiday, he wouldn't move into it. He said, I'll just start getting decorators in possibly, or furnishings and all that. But my main concern is time to relax and talk to pretty women and girls like her. Right, okay, brilliant. I have never in my entire life met someone so methodical. German, from Berlin. Are you guys, is there anyone out there who's the same as Leon? Does the same things, same ideas? I mean, it's genius in some ways. He really is methodical. But whatever's going to happen to him in the future when he finds number 10 and she changes to a number 9 one day. But he's only looking for a part-time partner who's a number 10. Interesting, interesting. That first night he was back, he hadn't organised a freelancer. He'd gone straight to Pretty Woman. She was very happy to see him. Again, he asked if he could take Mama-san to translate. Yes, no problem. And I'm really sorry, the battery went on the camera, and when I continued filming, I hadn't pressed the record button. So days later, here I am, jumping back in. Oh dear. So the Mama-san had gone over with him to see Pretty Woman, and she'd found a school that would teach English up in Third Road somewhere. They were a 2-hour session each day for 5 days, 500 baht a day. And Leon was absolutely fine, and with the help of Frozen, he explained that he'd want Pretty Woman to attend that. And she was working nights only, so she could do that in the daytime, no problem. And he gave her enough money to cover the course for a month. So what's that, 10,000 baht? Which was nothing to him anyway. She was over the moon. She couldn't believe her luck. This was amazing. She wanted to learn English, and this guy was going to go and pay for it all. So everyone happy. Anyway, she started getting busy again. He came back over to the bar, and I, of course, what's happening? What's happening? Explained everything. 10,000 baht for a month. Are you going to do that with every shop girl you find? Or girl who works in a restaurant or a fast food joint? He said, if I have to, we'll see what happens with this number 1. And if it works out, it's only money. Now, he hadn't took a freelancer. It was sort of mid-evening, so it was probably about 10 o'clock by now, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And the little shop was quite busy. We were starting to get quite busy. And so rather than do nothing, we had 2 or 3 new girls. He got one of the first girls, new ones, did the usual, sketched, chatted to them. But he said to me, sort of as he was chatting to this one, he said, I now have a bit of a guilt problem. I said, what's that? What do you mean? He said, well, I'm sat in a bar, pretty girl can see me, and if I was to take a girl from this bar or get a freelancer here and go out, he said, I hadn't thought she'd probably been watching me every time I've gone with a different girl. I said, all right. I said, well, we haven't got a back door. We have got rooms upstairs. And he's like, He said, well, you've got 3 new girls. He said, over the next 3 nights, I could use one of your rooms. He said, that will save me going up and down to the hotel. He said, that's a good idea. He said, okay. He said, I'll have your best room and I'll take this first girl. I said, okay. So as normal, instead of leaving the bar, he took one of the new girls and went upstairs to the short time rooms. And these rooms were horrible. They really were in this bar. They were already done in this format, these rooms, before the owners, my managers, my bosses, when they took it over. They were all little mosaic tiled rooms. Oh, it was horrible rooms. Anyway, they were clean. There was a cleaner. They were clean and tidy. So off he went upstairs. And a while later, came back down and bought the girl a drink. And again, give her the cartoon. Did a little bit more drawing. And the girl was happy. At this point, she could have left the bar, and because he'd paid the bar fine, she could have left the bar then and gone home for the night. But she stayed and hung around, and all the girls were chatting away to customers and occasionally chatting to him. A little bit later, it started quietening down in the soy, and off he went back across the road with his translator, talking to Pretty Woman. They were sat on the steps, and she was actually, you could see she was sat closer to him. The mum and dad must have been in their late 60s, 70s. They were quite old. It was a general store, not like a 7-Eleven. It was just like a Thai store. It was sort of floor to ceiling shelves, down the back, stuff in the middle. You could hardly walk round the shop. You had to sort of creep your way down to the back. But they sold all sorts of stuff. And it was a good little trade. And I believe it was a salon next door. But I can't remember. Anyway, he sat on the step with Pretty Woman, talking for ages. He'd come back in, bring some more food for the girls, and got a drink. And then I noticed, he went back over, I noticed that him and Pretty Woman disappeared. I thought, well, what's going on here? And they went off for about 15, 20 minutes and then came back. And he must have said goodbye to her because he came back in the bar and it was getting on a bit then. Straight away, I was like, where did you go? What happened? And he said, I actually managed to get her through the translator to understand food. And there's lots of street food just on the main walking street there. So we went and sat out on Walking Street and got some street food. And we just sat on the edge and had some food together. And he said it was brilliant. She's such an intelligent girl. Okay, it's going on about it again. He said, I really hope this works out. It's such a good way for me to find that number 10. He said, I'm sure now that this girl is going to be high up the ladder on that number. I'm sure she is. Everything's looking good so far. End of the night came and off he went. He didn't turn up for about another 4 days, from what I can remember. 4, maybe 5 days. And he did turn up. He said, I said, where have you been? He said, I got the condo. I had to do all the sign and everything. And I've been out. It was a cheaper price than the other one, but it needed some updates, and it's about 3 or 4 years old. So I've managed to find a builder to go in, and they're going to refurbish the condo for me, and it's going to take a couple of weeks. So he said, I've been getting that organised, and it's all looking good. And he said, I'm still going to have to spend a few more days there with them, making sure they do everything properly. So he said, I might not be in. Even though I've got 4 weeks, I'm just going to have to get that done. I'm not going to move in, he said, but I'll get everything done. I said, okay. And off he went. Cross, said hello to Pretty Woman, and off he went. Gone. 3 days later, he came back, and building work had finished, and decorating team was in then. And he decided he was going to spend the evening in the bar, going to talking to Pretty Woman, not take one of the girls from our bar, or a freelancer, and he was just going to chat. Anyway, pretty woman. We'll leave it there. It's nice and open. Sorry about the battery in the middle of the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Oh, and it's noisy out by the hammock. Electricians here and stuff going on outside, so hence the office. Ta-da for now.